Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show. Hello. Oh, how are you?
What do you know? I'm good, yeah. Good.
Good evening.
Good day.
Good morning.
Goodness.
Loch Ness.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
Bang
I'm so confused by something so easy. Welcome to the Benji and Nick Show. We talk about cult TV. We have spontaneously selected something to discuss from the archives of time. We also talk about what we've been watching this week, and we read out your emails this week. We also read out some Facebook posts as well, sent to the official Nicholas Briggs Facebook page. This week we selected, Benji, you selected Escape into Night. What on earth possessed you?
I saw a YouTube clip of somebody posted about the title sequence, and I thought it looked interesting.
Did you now?
How wrong I was.
What year was it? What does it say?
You've got the box. You can be Mr.
I've got the box. It doesn't. There's not enough information on this. It should say the year, but it just says, after nearly 40 years, originally made in colour, Escape into Night now exists only as black and white tele-recordings made for overseas. No, it doesn't say what year it was made in.
Let me have a look for you.
It's got to be like 1970 or something. Or,
Very early, definitely. 72.
72,
First episode
just
on the
saw,
19th of April 72, and it finished 24th of May 72.
That's right.
Broadcast on ITV for a TV. Really like
for
saying
ATV, that. Yeah. Good. Well, we'll be discussing that later. In the meantime, what have you been watching this week, Benji?
Oh, okay. Good question. So I've been watching this week. I got in the post. I had to emphasise the P on the post. I got in the post The Legend of King Arthur, the old BBC serial from 1979.
79, you said,
yeah. Which stars Robert Edison as Merlin, Andrew Burt as Arthur, and Doctor Who fans might know Maureen O'Brien, who plays Arthur's half-sister Morgan. Really enjoyed it, actually.
Isn't it Morgaine?
There's Morgan in this.
Oh,
there are loads of different morgues in Arthur.
This is your subject area. I should not dare to trespass.
You can call it. There's no definitive King Arthur Bible, so to speak. It's a series of different stories which people have sort of fabricated into one general story.
Okay.
But
steady on.
I really enjoyed it, actually. I've not finished it, but it's quite fun. I quite like what they're doing with it, really. There's a lot of sort of cramming in, but it's really good. And so I've been having a ball with that one. Nearly at the end of The Good Place. To be honest, I've just been watching an awful lot of politics. That's literally it's just been the news. I've just been hooked. And I've also been aiming to, but haven't got round to watching more Bonanza. He knows it. I'm so proud of you, Nick.
I was a child when it was. I mean, was it made in the 50s and 60s, wasn't it?
It's
Hoss.
It's an old one. Let's have a look. Bonanza.
Hoss was one of the characters, wasn't he? And
yes, you're totally on the ball. Yeah,
and the title sequence was the burning map, wasn't it?
Yes. The burning map with the wonderful sort of Western logo of the top in classic Western font. And just looking on the cast, the full character name is Eric Haas Cartwright.
That was the Cartwright family, wasn't
Cartwright
it? That's
family,
right.
Yeah.
Who ran a ranch, yeah.
But I love one of the character names in this, though. Dusty Rhodes. What a name. also a very famous wrestler as well, Dusty Rhodes. Son of a plumber.
My question is, what is the difference between the format of Bonanza and the format of the High Chaparral?
I can answer this question. I've not seen the High Chaparral, so I wouldn't know.
Because as far as I can tell, it's almost exactly the same program, but just with slightly different characters.
I think there are so many westerns like this, though. Like around that time, the episodic TV western, they're all pretty much the same thing, but just with various levels of ambition.
Yeah, High Chaparral was later. It was done in the 70s, I believe, late 60s, 70s.
Okay.
I certainly watched it in the 70s anyway. It used to be on, on BBC Two at about 8 o'clock in the evening. Really weird scheduling, isn't it?
It's the sort of shove on a western sort of time, isn't it, really?
Do 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 do. That's the theme of the High Chaparral. Go on, I insist you find it now.
Okay. Chaparral. 1967 to 71.
Ah, wow. I remember it used to be on the BBC used
starring Leif Erikson, Cameron Mitchell.
There you go. I think I was singing it in the wrong key. Anyway.
It's good though, I like it.
What have I been watching this week? I fell in and out of love with Mrs. Wilson. Thing on BBC One about a woman who discovers that her husband's a big old fibber.
It's got that incredible woman from Luther in it, hasn't it? Who played Alice Morgan in it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. It might be. I had a scam phone call today.
Oh, let's wind them up.
Yeah. Hold on. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, this is Ryan, and I'm calling you from the BT OpenReach regarding to your internet connection.
Yeah.
Your internet connection is going to be disconnected within the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
The reason behind this suspension is because we have been receiving lots of errors and warning notifications from your router, and after we checked it, we found your router was found to be connected with several different IP addresses from different locations.
Yeah.
You are constantly using your internet without your permission. So that is the reason we had to call you at this moment.
Oh, thanks for calling. Do you know Alex Watson?
I'm sorry, sir?
Do you know Alex Watson?
No.
Because Alex Watson called from you this morning and said exactly the same thing. What's your name?
My name is Ryan.
Ryan?
Yes.
And what's your surname?
McMillian.
McMillian?
I'm not sure if you have received a call from the BT OpenReach, sir. Can you confirm me that?
Yeah, from Alex Watson earlier on today. He was doing the same scam you're doing.
Cam?
Yeah, scam, where you're making it up and you're trying to get information out of my computer for illegal purposes. Don't worry, I'm recording this call so I can send it to the police.
Serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You're live on the podcast.
Oh, funnily enough, he hung up. Funny, if that was a genuine call from BT OpenReach, they wouldn't mind being recorded, would they? Really?
They wouldn't mind.
They record their own calls. Anyway, there you go. Yeah. Earlier on, I spoke to someone. Yeah, he's Alex Watson, his name was, and he gave me a number and everything. And then I said, "What's your supervisor's name?" And he did that sort of Alan Partridge thing of trying to make up a name in a hurry. And he went, "James." And I said, "Oh, James, right. What's his surname?" He went, "Sorry, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, does he not have more than one name? It's just James, or he's got another name?" And he went, "His name is James Hills." And I said, "Okay, and what's his number?" And he went, "Oh, his number is," and then pressed off. He got cross with me. Yeah. A few challenges them, they get quite
fancy
cross.
saying you're from BT OpenReach, like just going in with the brand name.
Yeah.
What a scam. What a scam. Yeah. Tremendously handled, might I add.
Thank you. Well, I'd had a rehearsal this morning. I couldn't believe. There'll probably be another one along in a minute. Anyway, yes, Mrs. Wilson. That's quite interesting because that's all about lies and scams. And she discovers her husband was or wasn't a member of the Secret Service. But I fell out of love with it. I really liked the first episode, and then I found the second episode so dull. Because I found her character's reaction to the situation completely unrealistic. But then, of course, I discovered that it's a true story. So this is exactly how apparently Ruth Wilson's grandmother reacted, because it's a story of her own family. And at the end, they show you the real extended family. They all pose for a photo of a shot at the end. But I just found it odd that at no point none of the women who all discovered that they'd all been married to him none of them said to each other, blimey, we've all been conned, haven't we? They didn't find any common ground. They were just very cross with each other. And that just shows how little I understand women, doesn't it? I would have thought they would have, in retrospect, kind of ganged up on him and just decided what an arse he'd been.
You confront him, wouldn't you, all of you together?
He's dead. No, the point is he's dead. He dies, and then all this comes out, you see. He had various families on the go and was supplying money, and he seemed to... I don't know how he managed to split his time over all these people. But the conclusion is that no one knows the truth, because the Secret Service said they sacked him in 1942 and were just observing him. He maintains he continued to work for the Secret Service, and then another guy from India says that no, the Secret Service framed him, and he was working for Russian intelligence.
Blimey.
And to this day, they can't find out the truth. The Foreign Office tell them that it's too sensitive to release the documents.
That is a real cool story, actually.
Well, it is cool and it's not cool because it's inconclusive. And even though I'm a great fan of Ruth Wilson, I think that's her name, isn't it? The actor who was in Luther and all sorts of things. Brilliant. I have got her name right, haven't I?
Yeah, Ruth Wilson.
Yeah. Just repeat that. You sound like a scammer on a phone. Yeah. BT Openreach.
Ruth Wilson. Who was...
Well, I can't remember what I'm saying now. I've completely distracted myself. Yes, I think she's a good actor, but I got a little bit sick of the endless close-ups of her face. I thought there's only a certain amount of time you can look at one human face, and she has a fantastic and interesting and expressive face. And I would say that, of all actors, she has one of the faces that you could look at for the longest, but still, it was too long. Too much. It was just stayed on her the whole time, and and her vomiting and coughing and fainting and. And I found it, I just thought, I'm not sure what you're trying to say by showing me her face so much. I get she's upset. I get she's shocked. But now you're saying she's shocked. She's shocked. Did you know she's shocked? She's shocked. And it was just repetition.
Too much. And over-egging the pudding.
Well, just to me anyway. But anyway, I sort of am pleased I saw it. Watched a bit more of the Sandbaggers, watched a bit more of Public Eye. And my wife forced me, not really, to watch I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which inexplicably she always watches. I can't stand that rubbish.
Ghastly televisual dross.
But, even then, it is beautifully framed as entertainment. And if you watch a bit of it and you're sitting in a room with your loved ones, you do end up watching more of it because they know how to make this stuff. You know what I mean? And they make it well. They do a darn good job, just not to my taste, I suppose.
I just feel sorry for all the animals and insects. That's what I always think. I just think it's really unfair. It's
just generally in life.
Well, just generally, no. But I think it's pretty horrible. They get eating animals eating insects on live television that are still alive, and then you'll see the same people probably on Twitter preaching about animal rights or something. You think to yourself, come on, guys. It's a bit. Think of the insects as well, or like the poor snakes and I don't know. It's just nasty. Interesting
point. I'm not entirely unsympathetic to what you're saying. Okay, here's what people said on Facebook about London's burning. I asked them whether people liked it or had memories.
They better be on side.
Do you know you'll be happy because they are
great.
Because we discussed London's burning last week, which was great. 1986 ITV series, and this was the TV movie that started it all. Well, the series started a couple of years later, apparently. That's right, isn't it?
Yep.
Brian Cooper said, glances at complete series 1 to 14 box sets, was his reply.
They take up a good amount of space. You're not wrong.
Glyn Copeland says, I remember London's Burning. The guy who played Lavender was the other man in the film version of Pink Floyd's The Wall. It's strange how memories work, ain't it? Is that right?
I don't think there was anybody called Lavender in it, but let me have a look. Pink Floyd, The Wall.
You would know.
Yeah, I did a Google of to see about Lavender, because I couldn't remember the character in it. I couldn't find anybody in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking on.
Is this person from BT Openreach?
He's talking about Bayleaf.
Bayleaf.
James Hazeldine.
Oh.
Who's in?
And he was in Pink Floyd's The Wall.
He was. He played Lover, I seem to recall. Well, I don't recall. That's what IMDb says. Lover.
All the facts are here. Jamie Robertson, a composer for Big Finish, and very nice chap, says, hell yeah, loved it. Met the crew and one of the appliances at Southend once. Favourite episode is the gas bottle one.
The gas bottle one's
I love
amazing.
the way you know that. Oh.
It is awesome. It is like probably some of the best telly special effects I've ever seen. It's just mental.
Well, he says very dangerous, makes you think the effects budget back then was incredible.
Oh, it really was. It's like gas bottles flying around causing explosions. Well worth a watch, that one.
Wow. Maria C. Antonio, we never know how to pronounce your name, Maria. I'm so sorry. She says, I remember it well, never missed it. Oh, charisma, LOL.
I love charisma, yep.
Charisma, who had no charisma, which is why they told him he was called Charisma. Steve Hatcher, of the Hoovers, who organised Big Finish Day for us so brilliantly. He corrects us, because we were talking about Escape Into Night, and I was saying it was based on Paper House. He says, the novel upon which Escape Into Night was based is Marianne Dreams by Catherine Storr. Paper House was the 1988 film adaptation.
Steve,
you idiots.
You're a legend. Thanks for pointing that one out. I'm
so
dreadfully out of my depth here.
And I said, listen, I'm just relying on Benji reading stuff out.
You poor bloke.
Yeah. Matt West, a great publisher of this parish, says, we were watching London's Burning the night our landlord decided to torch the shop below our flat. Lost everything that night. Bristle when I hear the distinctive London's Burning music.
God.
And I said, blimey, Matt, what a blooming nightmare. And yes, so there you go. Simon Jeffries, that's a terrible thing. Very sorry to hear that, Matt. Lovely chap, Matt West. Simon Jeffries says, I do remember it, was an avid watcher. Nikki McCrane says, good lord, yes, some ropey acting, but we were fans. Well, what's your reaction, Benji?
Ropey, not from the main cast, but perhaps some of the guests in there can be a bit ropey at times.
Never watched it, said Duncan Wilson, but aware of it. It had Samantha Beckinsale, Richard's daughter, and a bloke called Vaseline for reasons I dare not consider.
Yes, that's right. Samantha Beckinsale was in it for, I think, only one series, maybe one or two series in it. And she was really good, actually. Really liked her in there. Obviously, Vass is a dude, a completely hopeless dude at that. But a dude,
Maria Antonio says, Duncan Wilson, slippery character. I had a bit of a crush on him, LOL.
No way.
Simon John Mallinson said he's addicted to the show.
Yes, that's what I like to hear.
That's what he says. Anyway, Martin Taylor says, we have London's Burning on DVD. One of the most dramatic is the housing estate with the gas cylinder depot in the middle of it. Explosions so big and unpredictable, even a cameraman had to dodge out of the way. Is that true?
It was crazy. Honestly, I'll have to find it for you, Nick, because it's a crazy special effects spectacle. Like, for telly, absolutely awesome.
Well, as you said, they pioneered techniques, didn't they?
Definitely, yeah.
Mandy Brake says, been watching it again on Drama to see one of many favourite actress, Heather Peace. Oh, Jack Rosenthal was a brilliant writer. Who was Heather Peace?
Let me have a look. I'm not very good with actors' names, so Heather Peace.
It's a piece of heather.
Oh yes, of course, yes. So she was in it. She played one of the main cast members in it. Comes in later on. She played Sally Gracie Fields. She came in
Gracie
about
Fields.
1998. So was in it for sort of the last leg But she's a good character, actually. Yeah, she was a very good character, actually.
Well, there you are. Are you happy with everyone's reaction to London's Burning?
I'm quite surprised, actually, by the level of love for the show, actually, which is very nice. But I suppose it's hard not to have a lot of love for something that's been on for so long. So probably people have just got memories of watching it at happy times on a Sunday. I have it on good authority that ITV at their offices still play the theme tune in the corridors and the lobby to this day.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
They weren't playing it the last time I visited them, but I'll ask them about it.
Oh, yeah, ask them. They'll say, yeah, contractually we have to play that. Yeah, it's that saxophone's driving us mad.
Okay, on to the emails. I'll read this first gargantuan one here.
Cool.
Original message. The chances of anything coming from Mars are 1,000,000 to 1.
Oh, they really? Crikey.
Yeah, this was sent on the 10th of December at 22:43 by Jamie Ward Brown. And of course, he sent it to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com, where you can all send your emails. Gentlemen, thank you once again for your recent episode. It was lovely to hear Benji talking with so much passion for one of his favourite shows. His enthusiasm was infectious and brought a genuine smile to my face.
Thank you.
Certainly made washing up the dishes from Sunday lunch much more fun. It was great to hear you both mention War of the Worlds. It's a story that has been with me for most of my life and has become something of a passion of mine, although it didn't start that way. My dad brought home the excellent Jeff Wayne musical version one night when I was 3 years old. Goodness. There was a thunderstorm raging outside, and as we lived in an area prone to power cuts during such storms, my dad decided we would listen to the album by candlelight. Needless to say, the album traumatized me so much that I was unable to listen to it comfortably until I was a teenager, which is when I first heard it, not when you were a teenager, when I was a teenager. And the same was true of Thunderstorms for a few years too. Thanks, Dad. Since then, however, I've become something of a devotee to the story and read Wells's original novel once a year, every year. It's easily one of the most chilling, fascinating and frightening, prescient books written. I've enjoyed the Orson Welles version and have just paused in the writing of this email to order the Big Finish adaptation, The Martian Invasion of Earth, on CD, something I've been meaning to do for a while. Well done, well done. Last episode you mentioned that there had yet to be an accurate Edwardian set film adaptation of the tale. Alas, I have to tell you, there has been. It was adapted by Pendragon Pictures in 2005 and received a very limited release up against the Spielberg version. As an avid fan of the story, I was desperate to see it, but soon wish I hadn't. It's quite terrible. I tell you to watch for yourselves to see just how awful it is, but I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, never mind people I actually like. Wow. I wonder what's bad about it. I mean, we've never heard of it, so that's an indication,
words,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Here's hoping the BBC version you also mentioned will be what a great many of us have been waiting for. I do hope that it's not in trouble, as Nick mooted, but as you are also no doubt aware, the production of any new War of the Worlds adaptations can sometimes be a little awkward due to the various rights issues, but I won't say more on that. Thanks again for a lovely show. It's always a treat to wake up to on Sunday, and I know I have 45 minutes of top tangent telly talk to listen to. Oh, that's a really good way of...
That is really good,
Top tangent telly talk. I think I'm going to put that in bold so I remember that. Top tangent telly talk. Brilliant. And in red. I'm going to put it in red. Yeah.
In red, in bold.
Top tangent telly talk to listen to. I would, however, also say that perhaps once a month, or when time permits, diversion to cult movies would be most welcome. You've spoken fondly before of Night of the Demon and mentioned the Hammer version of Quatermass in the Pit. Those Daleks could only travel on metal. I think films of those sorts would suit the Benji and Nick tone to a T. Very good point. Lastly, I'm looking forward to what Christmas episodes you might be looking to cover as the big day draws nearer. Wasn't the Box of Delights mentioned at one point? It was. Yes. Thanks again, gents, and keep watching the skies. Ooh la! Jamie Ward Brown. There you go. Well, thank you for that,
That's a
Jamie.
lovely email. Thank you for that one. I just did a quick Google of that War of the Worlds 2005 thing.
Yes.
I couldn't see any footage of it, but I can say that it was direct to video, which might say an awful lot
to video
about what it is. But no, certainly look out for that one and avoid it. This next one here, subject titled Some Thoughts from Nyrin Hunt, sent to podcast at nicholasbriggs.com, the place where all the emails should be going. Dear Nick and Benji, this being episode 42, you should have done Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but maybe that's too much planning. Anyway, with Christmas coming up, will you choose something festive? Blackadder Christmas special might do. I imagine you will have many ideas. Nyrin, sent at 6:48 p.m. Blackadder Christmas special's a cracker, isn't it? I always like watching that at Christmas.
It's interesting that he says sent at 6:48 p.m. and yet on the email it says 5:48. So there's an hour's discrepancy. I wonder why that is.
What were you doing in that hour? Probably watching the Blackadder Christmas special.
And it seems that no Benji and Nick podcast can go past without Tom Hodden writing in. Note from Tom Hodden to your Facebook page, The Benji and Nick Show, Cult TV Podcast. Sent at 8:24 in the morning on the 9th of December. So, Thomas, what have you got to say? Gents, after almost a year of your podcast, I thought it would be worth spending a little time to look back at the shows you scored highest and some of the shows you have mentioned in passing as recommendations and highlights. Unfortunately, being a busy man, I haven't had time to actually Google any of these shows or listen again to the episodes, but I think I got the gist of what they were about. Doctor Who was, of course, an early show to review well, and why not? Both our hosts have a clear fondness for this BBC Two panel show in which celebrities try to guess the academic field or major achievements of PhD students and professors from around the world. More recently, Colombo was highly regarded by the lads, which I think would be correct in saying is very much like Dallas, but set in Sri Lanka's capital city, and with marginally more hairspray and shoulder pads. Gripping stuff. London's Burning, that gripping reality show about DJs burning their play sets onto CD, fared surprisingly well. For a podcast with a far more Radio 4 feel. The lads haven't viewed an episode officially yet, but Benji has mentioned watching Threads several times. This grim, gritty and painfully brutal fashion show is often uncomfortable viewing even today. It was famously pitted directly against the American dating show The Morning After in a prime time slot, which looks a little cheesier by comparison, but is probably worth watching for that scene in which John Lithgow realises with horror the full extent of the devastation spread across America. Of course, no roundup would be complete without mentioning the Stone Tapes, which I believe was Keith Richards' cinematic diary of writing and recording Sympathy for the Devil at Mick Jagger's country retreat. I think those were your favourites, and I hope I didn't miss anything important.
You're right, they are.
Yours as ever, T.E. Hodden. P.S. A few weeks ago, Nick requested listeners send in questions for Jamie Anderson. I did toy with the entirely sensible notion of asking if the long-running Dalek comic in Century 21 and Terry Nation's explicit desire for the Daleks to have their own show had ever spurned the possibility of Skaro being recreated in the spurned, Anderson style, spurred maybe. But then I thought it would be funnier to hear Nick pose the following questions. What has love got to do with it? What is that smell? And of course, who is that strange old lady standing right behind you? On second thoughts, mind asking the Dalek one, old chaps? The answer is probably no, but it may still be interesting. Sent from the Naughty Step. And this links directly to phoning Jamie, which I'm not going to do because I'm going to have lunch with him after this podcast. So I think I'll take along my recorder and ask him those questions. Oh, here we are then. Can you remember what the questions were? Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Nick.
Here we are in a swanky restaurant.
Well, it's not the swanky restaurant, it's the grill, because they couldn't fit us in the restaurant. All your beers here.
Oh, good. Yes, that's me. Thank you. Well, it's not me. It's my drink. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Broken Tile, funnily enough, it's called.
That's what my beer's called. Right, okay, carry on.
What were the questions?
I sent them to you so you'd be able to see them.
Do you want me to read them out?
Yes.
I thought that was part of the test.
No.
They were, what has love got to do with it?
Yeah, these are from Thomas E. Hodden, who
Yes.
writes it. Yeah. What has love got to do with it?
I mean, it depends on the situation, really.
It's just a second-hand emotion, isn't it?
Oh, is that what I'm supposed to say? What is that smell? It can only be Nick Briggs, from where I'm sitting. Who is that strange old lady standing right behind you? Also Nick Briggs? There's no one behind. It must be.
the way you had to check.
It would have been great if there was a strange old lady. And the Dalek comic strip in TV21, did it ever spur or spurn the possibility of Skaro being recreated the Anderson style? Nope, because I've got it on record somewhere. Dad didn't like Doctor Who. He thought it was cheap and rubbish and he'd never want to get involved with it unless anybody had asked him in the 90s to reboot it and be a producer, in which case he would have immediately said it's fantastic, and maybe that would have been a great way in, but no.
Thank you, Jamie.
Pleasure.
Let's have lunch now.
In person, the real Jamie Anderson.
Okay, on to the main topic.
Oh.
Escape into night. Benji, this was your fault. Idea.
Yeah, it's pretty dreadful, isn't it? Really, the concept's out there. You know, it's from what I gathered. I assume all the other episodes are different, and they're all short stories. This particular one was about a girl who's in her hospital bed, drawing.
You are so wrong. You have completely misunderstood.
In her bedroom, not a hospital bed.
No. It's a series. It's a serial. It continues.
You're joking.
No, it's a 6-part. Is it 6 parts? I can't remember that. Yeah, 6-part story.
Oh God, are they really going to keep this going for another 5 episodes?
Look, this is what it's about. Compelled to find her own amusement whilst confined to bed after a riding accident, Marianne fills her sketchpad with drawings of an imaginary place. When she sleeps, she dreams of her imaginary world and realizes that the more she draws in her waking hours, the more she can explore when she sleeps. She draws a house to investigate in her dreams and is shocked to find a boy looking at her through one of the windows. A milestone in children's television drama, Escape into Night was adapted from Catherine Storr's novel Marianne Dreams by Ruth Boswell, time-slip, Tomorrow People. The combination of Boswell's taut scripts, Richard Bramall's clever direction and Alan Coleman's production enabled the juvenile cast to give memorable and sometimes terrifying performances. More experimental than most children's drama series, Escape into Night's surreal, dark tone and eerie sense of unearthliness made an indelible impression on its viewing public and is still remembered perhaps with a sense of unease after nearly 40 years.
Well, they're just trying to flog the DVDs, aren't they? I mean, that's exactly what that is. Yeah, it's...
Well, I would say this, Benji. I did see it in 1972 when I was a kid, and I thought it was amazing when I was a kid. I found it really disturbing. What you missed out on later is that she draws stones around the house, and then when she gets cross with the little boy, she draws bigger stones and gives them eyes. So they're like big stone Daleks. And what's more, the voice effect for them is done with a ring modulator.
No way.
And they say things like, get them, not the light, not the light.
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
really, I mean, unfortunately, the production values are so rock bottom low. But it does get very disturbing as it goes on. And I whizzed through it. I didn't watch it all in detail. I kind of did a bit of speed skimming through and stopped and started to remind myself. I'd seen this first episode again before and was, like you, appalled by... I mean, the girl and the boy, the acting is pretty awful.
I think it really lets it down, the acting and some... Yeah, it feels like it goes round in circles. I feel like I could cut the first episode in half and still take away exactly what I took from it. If that makes sense.
And as you say, and I just love the fact that you're so appalled that there's 5 more episodes of it.
Oh,
and essentially it just carries on in the same vein. What happens is that the girl, Marianne, gets more and more upset and she gets jealous of Mark, the boy in her dreams, but also that he's kind of based on another pupil that her teacher, who's coming to teach her while she's in bed because she can't go to school.
Yeah.
That her teacher, who later turned up as the villain in Robot, Tom Baker's first story.
Yeah.
What's the name of the villain in Robot? I can't remember now.
I think you'll find not Professor Kettlewell.
No, it's the woman.
God, I've not watched a Robot in a long time. Look, Doctor Who.
Shamefully, I watched it very recently and can't remember the name.
Oh,
and also the character came back in a Big Finish story, played by the same actor.
Shameful.
I know who it is.
Jellicoe?
Yes. And Patricia Maynard played her. Yeah.
And Miss Winters. Miss Winters.
That's right. That's Jellicoe is her assistant.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Miss Winters, that's right. Yeah, played by Patricia Maynard. Well, she's Miss Chesterfield here, which, is obviously inspired by William Hartnell's mispronunciation of Chesterton. Yes. I'm talking rubbish, obviously. She's very good in this, but I would say, I don't like Ruth Boswell's scripts. They're very, very old-fashioned. At one point, she's reduced to saying to the girl, "Please attend, Marianne," and it's just not in the style of the piece for her to use that phrase. Just "could you pay attention" would be much better. I'd like to know, when was the novel written? Do you know? Can you look that up?
Yes.
Can you goggle it?
I can goggle that one for you. And correctly, might I add this time. Publication date of that one was 1958.
That doesn't surprise me, because I think that Ruth Boswell's taken a lot from the novel, because it seems that they've set it in 1972, but it seems the dialogue comes straight from 1958, and that's what's wrong with it.
Definitely,
because it's too old-fashioned in its outlook.
It feels very old-fashioned. It feels quite laboured. I was going to say the script for me is what lets it down. Really, it goes back and forth and it goes over itself, and there's not enough going on. Certainly in this first episode to really, it didn't capture my. I like some of the more surreal elements, things like what she draws on the paper sort of becomes a reality in her dreams, so to speak, and I think that is really cool. I think there's some wonderful work in the setting in terms of making it feel very eerie at times, but yeah, it feels very laboured, and I have to say I just can't stand the main character Marianne at all. How horrible she is to that poor boy. That she's just nasty. If I was him and I was stranded in a house and was resigned to the fact that I couldn't really escape, and she was the only person who was keeping me company, I'd be exactly the same. I'd tell her to go away. I think at one point he tells her to shut up, and I thought, yeah, I think I would have said the same thing, because she was just like interrogating the poor.
This is one of the great things about these old dramas, because now everyone has to be kind. I mean, kids are told nowadays that they can't say shut up and they can't call people idiots and things like that. And one of the great sort of releases of these old-fashioned dramas is that everyone is really rude to each other.
Oh,
people
God,
were
yeah.
much ruder to each other back in the 70s and certainly in the 50s. And her mother says to her at one point, "Honestly, Marianne, I'm going to throttle you," or something. You just think, whoa, what?
Stop right there.
No, I don't think, people are generally frowned upon for saying things like that to children now, whereas in those days I feel it was positively encouraged.
Well, it is when it's...
Have you throttled your child recently?
Prime time kids television.
If so, well done.
Well done. Good, damn good throttling. I thought it was quite amusing as well when she's just had this hideous accident when she came off a horse and has broken her leg.
Hideously filmed. She sort of just goes,
yeah, and slumps back.
It's a bit like Reeves and Mortimer, where Bob Mortimer says, "Oh, I think I'm going to fall, Vic, I'm going to, oh dear," It's just really pathetic, unrealistic falling. Yeah.
It was pathetic, but of course, what made me chuckle even more though is then that straight after this happened, she's in bed and the mother there goes, "Let's read a book." Awkwardly opens the book to face the camera, and it's a book on horses and horse riding. It's like, it's the last thing she wants to see is a horse. I'd be livid. So, no, these are get out of my face. I don't want to see one of those again. You
expect to cut to her screaming like, "No, mummy, no,
put it
the
away."
horses.
But God, poor girl. It reminds me, actually, when she brought the teacher in, reminds me of something similar actually happened to me. That when I was
you fell off a horse?
I fell off a horse. No, I didn't. So when I was in hospital at the age of 14, 15, I had a problem in my hand. I had to have a big operation on that. And I distinctly remember I was on morphine at the time. And it was after the operation, I sort of woke up from one of my morphine-induced sleeps to see this woman peering over me. And I looked up and thought, I was confused. And she said, "Oh, hello, I'm the hospital teacher. I run the hospital school. We're going to do your science revision for your GCSE, because I was doing GCSE a year early for science. It was a double thing." And I remember just being completely and utterly, it just blew my mind. I was like, I've just had the most traumatizing operation of my life, both mentally and physically. I'm on morphine, and she's sitting there trying to show me how batteries work. And eating my Maltesers, which were given to me as a gift.
She was eating your Maltesers?
Yeah, she was sitting there eating my bloody Maltesers. And I was just
Did you throttle her?
Well, I jolly well wanted to. And then the following day she came back and she said, "Right, we're going to get you up, we're going to go to the classroom." And I'd had bone taken from my hip. So not only was my hand had to be held up all the time, but I could barely walk or sit up. Anyway, I said to my parents, I said, "This woman, she's torturing me." I said, I can barely, all I want to do is sleep and feel sorry for myself. And she came in quite unannounced and forces me to do. Anyway, they had a word, and I never saw the woman again.
She was quietly throttled. But the reason I'm saying this is that, poor Marianne, she's just fallen off a horse. She's in bed. I know she's bored, but last thing you want is a teacher coming round. Ugh. No, thank you, But the thing is two things. I think your story would be a better series. I want to see that. The teenager on morphine threatened by this teacher who's eating. I love the eating. Was it Smarties? You say?
No, Maltesers.
Maltesers, horrific. Even worse.
Yeah, it was really, really annoying, actually. That's what I took from it.
Imagine you wake up and there's someone go, just tucking into your grub here. And also,
that is literally
even though you're really ill, get up out of bed basically and come and learn some science.
And it was in the Queen Victoria Hospital in East Grinstead, which is a really old hospital. I mean, it's amazing. You could film a great series there because it looks like something. It looks like the hospital out of Day of the Triffids, wow. the original, you might say. But the classroom was outside, and the corridors there were cold, and I just remember walking in agony. Oh, gosh, God Almighty, horrific!
Awful.
Yeah,
that's awful. Well, you'll be pleased to hear that in Escape into Night, and it's interesting she changed the title. I mean, the film was called Paper House. The main thing, well, what happens in the end is that everything's all right. Okay, everything's all right. Yeah, she makes friends with the little boy. And she draws things to help them get out. But unfortunately, she can't rub the stones out. And she made them bigger and gave them eyes. And now they're out there going, "Get them, not the light," and all this, which is really what I loved it for as a kid, because they sounded a bit like Daleks. So I liked that. And they were sort of Dalek shaped, and they were really quite terrifying, these eye things that opened. Skip ahead and have a look at those bits. They're quite fun. He's doing it now. And in the end, she bumps into the real life Mark, and they just have a moment, and he doesn't recognise her, but he does look the same, and he's riding a bike. And the whole thing was that Mark couldn't walk, and she sort of helps him to ride a bike in the dreams, and he's riding a bike in real life, and they just have a moment when they look at each other. He falls off the bike, she rushes forwards to help him, and he says, "I'm all right," gets on the bike, and he looks at her, she looks at him, then he rides off, and then she sits down, takes out her drawing book. This is all outside, of course. And she just rips up the pages and throws them away, littering the area. She doesn't even put them in a bin. This is the 1970s, folks. It's fine to litter. She just throws them away and then walks off. And then that's the end. And that closing theme tune, which is just her going, which is actually quite chilling when you think about it. The
Well,
thing is,
I would say that
the film doesn't feature the Stones. And the main thing I liked about the series was the monsters, the Stones, and they feature majorly. And I wonder how much they're in the book and whether I think they are in the film, but they're not really relevant. And it all becomes about escaping from the Stones.
because they look really good. I've just seen the Stones. They do look good, and I could see exactly why you would like them, because they do look sort of Dalek-y and actually surprisingly eerie. Something about them, actually.
Well, I think they put my theory is, and I don't know whether it's right, that they upped the sort of ante of the Stones to make it more like a Doctor Who monster, to make it more appealing, because the film Paper House is far more psychological and sort of puberty related and stuff. I think it's all sort of, which of course they couldn't do on kids' TV in those days, well, in any great detail. So I give it 2 exclamation marks basically, because it's got good ideas. I just think it's not well enough made, even though it's got very fast editing in places. They cut between the dream world and the real world with no real logic. And I remember I found that quite troubling as a child. I couldn't quite keep a grasp on the plot.
Slightly edgy in that respect, maybe.
But it's not well enough acted, and it's not well enough written. I would rather outrageously say. She's taken the inspiration of a 1958 book and written it in that style, and they should have set it in 1958.
And then it would have been fine.
Yeah, but it's very modern day setting.
I've just heard the voice. We're coming, we're coming.
Yes. By the way, Edmund Pegg, who plays Dr. Burton, I'm pretty certain about Dr. Burton that I met him on a train about a year or so ago, travelling from the West Country. He was very well dressed, and I fancied that maybe he was going to be in a theatre production. Quite an old man, but still very... And I recognise him because he's played many, many things. He had quite a good career. I think he did a lot of work in Australia as well. And I nearly mentioned to him that I was an actor and nearly said that I recognised him, but he was quite happy just to chat, without mentioning his career or anything. He just seemed like quite a nice old fella.
That's what you want, isn't it, with somebody like that? You want them to be nice and normal.
I also think I saw the lead singer of The Who. Who's that?
Roger Daltrey.
Roger Daltrey.
I see him all the time. He lives around here. He also... I don't know if he still
he was
does,
walking through... He was walking near Embankment Station. And I looked at him as he was sort of walking. He's quite a small man, isn't he?
Sorry, I heard a weird noise outside. Yeah, he's quite a small man. Well dressed at times when I've seen him. But he
sort of walks with his legs splayed out in a kind of have some of that sort of way, doesn't he?
It's Roger Daltrey, though, isn't he?
When he looked at me in a kind of, I'm Roger Daltrey, because I looked at him and said, I recognise that decrepit old man. I wonder, who did you used to be?
Who were you once? I don't think his solo career went off because he had to cancel his tour because nobody bought the tickets. Pretty grim, really. Then he went back on tour with The Who and probably sold out.
Was this recently?
Yeah, this is recently. He couldn't even sell out Bexhill-on-Sea.
Wow.
But going back to...
What's the venue called at Bexhill-on-Sea?
The Delaware Pavilion.
The Delaware. Oh, that's a lovely name.
There's a horrible noise outside. It's really off-putting.
This one here.
That's a nice noise compared to this noise.
That's true. How about this one?
That's a horrible noise.
Get them! Not the light! Not the light!
I would say...
And a typical, in Dalek style, the modulation was different on every episode. They just basically got a ring modulator and sort of fiddled with it. It's something like that.
This one's whacked up more than a Dalek, isn't it? This is
much higher. They're all... Yeah. They're very high rates. I love these important things. How many exclamation marks are you giving it?
So I will go with you to give it a 2, and the reason I would give it a 2, I hated and loathed this first episode with a passion worse than redemption. But the one thing I really did like about it actually is I really like the visuals that were done on the opening and closing title sequence and stuff like that. I thought that it just looked really good. I loved the concept at the end with the closing credits with the the drawings of the characters, which then sort of apparate into pictures of the actors looking all happy and smiley, which is quite funny.
I think they probably did that to reassure the kids because it had been so terrifying. Yeah,
I
maybe.
think so. And so that, based on that, and I appreciate the concept, and I like that, I will give it a 2. If it wasn't for those things, I'd give it a 1. However, seeing the little clips of the episodes later on with those cool stone creatures, maybe that's enough to fill me with more confidence. I'll probably watch on just to see.
Yeah, do a bit of fast forwarding. That's my advice.
I'll probably just look at the stone monsters.
That's what I did mostly. There's one bit right in, I think, the last episode where they're escaping into night, and they keep riding on their bikes and then stopping and lying down with the bikes, and they can hear. You never see the stones move, but you can just hear them moving around, going, "Get them!" and all this kind of thing. And it's really shot at night outside as well, on outside broadcast cameras. Carrots, I nearly said, because they help you see in the dark.
Very good.
And there's a bit where they decide to run and leave the bikes, and as they run up this hill, you just hear this sort of crunching, crashing sounds, and they go, "Oh, they're crushing our bikes, they're breaking them." And as a kid, certainly of that era as well, your bike was everything, and the idea that some nasty monsters would crush your bikes, it's just, I found it really upsetting watching it again. They say it doesn't matter, we can carry on without them, and the fact that you're so terrified you'd leave your bike behind to be crushed by horrible rock monsters.
You have to have an extreme sense of danger to sacrifice your Rayleigh chopper.
Raleigh.
Is it Raleigh? I thought it was.
Yeah.
Oh, there it shows.
No, we call them Raleigh choppers.
Shows the generation I'm from. I just don't know it. But,
well, they may be properly pronounced Rayleigh, I don't know, but we all called them Raleighs when we were a kid. If you got your Raleigh.
It probably was Raleigh. Raleigh sounds a bit like Harley, doesn't it?
So Walter Raleigh. Well, now then. It's Christmas! What are we going to do for next week?
Well, I think it would only be fair, wouldn't it, if we fulfilled what the people have asked for, the will of the people here, and for us to cover in our last podcast venture before the new year, Box of Delights. I think it should happen. What do you think, Nick?
I think it has to be done. I think we sort of more or less promised it, yeah. So yes, we'll do that. Box of Delights, at least the first part. For next week.
I think you'll like it.
I did sort of see it at the time, but
it's got Patrick Troughton in it. So
I know.
You go
Patrick Troughton.
Did you remember that
Troughton?
When we did, yeah, Patrick Troughton.
It was the auto speak on your computer, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh no, I think you'll like it.
I did see some of it. What year was it? Like 1983 or something?
84.
84. Okay. Yeah. I was kind of, at that difficult age, so it was possibly too childlike for me. But anyway, I'm sure I'll love it with Patrick Troughton.
It's a cult Christmas classic, I think. Your 3 C's.
Well, I think it's time to just get
I think
close
so too.
to the microphone and say what a pleasure it's been, Benji.
Always is. Never a chore.
I'll just go off, have lunch with Jamie and record an interview with him.
Well, have fun, give my regards to him, and indeed, give my regards to Broad Street. That's the 1980s Paul McCartney album and film.
Good. I'll just write those questions down. Goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me, and a Merry, Merry Christmas.
Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.